I'm encouraged by Jaron Williams. Obviously, he played very well, 30 out of 39 for 306 and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Did fumble the ball a couple of times, but he recovered both of those. And we'll get into his performance, again, when we get to from the macro to the micro. Excuse me for reaching there. I think that the offense definitely took a step forward. I think shuffling the offensive line was definitely the right move, and you can base that upon the result. So, changing up the process did help the results moving forward. Excuse me. I forget to do that, bro. Every week I forget to turn off my phone. I'm sorry. Apologize. I think that the defense has some major problems. It was not helped by the fact that Amari Carter got ejected early in the game for targeting, which I don't like the rule for a guy who's 6'2", 205, and he's already in his crouch, but the quarterback slid and you hit him. Like, that's a textbook targeting. You're going to get called for that every time that happens. And again, like if you go back and watch that play, Amari Carter is crouching down, trying to go through Sam Howell's legs for like a dive through tackle, but he's a quarterback, so he slipped. He slid, excuse me. And then so with Amari Carter out, that didn't help things. Although I will say that someone that I have been very critical of, to the point that there are people who have talked to me about my criticism about this player. Robert Knowles was not bad. And I know you're listening to this, watching me say, what? I mean, look, he wasn't a game changer. Nobody's calling him Ed Reed or Sean Taylor. He's not out there changing the game in a positive way. But for somebody who was a walking touchdown for the other team when he played previously, in previous years, him going out there and just doing his job, and even if he didn't break up a pass, so he didn't intercept anything, he got out of here or got out on that field and made the play that was to be made. That is yeoman's work, and I know people are like, oh, well, you're lowering standards. Look, man, that's just, for him to do that and go out there and execute his job, I am very happy to see that. And that was not something that I was expecting. So I have to give credit where it was due. Now, again, I'm not saying that he single-handedly went out there and won the game, because clearly Miami lost, but Robert Knowles played a solid game, and he played a solid game in the snaps that he took in the Florida game as well. So, if I'm being loud about criticism, I have to be loud about my praise, even if it's just saying, look, league average, B-flat basic, doing your job, that's Robert Knowles. And that's a step forward, honestly, from where he's been. So I think that there are issues on defense. I think that there are still issues on offense. There are some things to like. Obviously, both running backs, the quarterback, Previn Jordan, the best tight end in America. I keep saying it. Just like I told you that Joe Jackson was a cyborg from the time he was a sophomore in high school. And now he, was a 5th or 6th round draft pick, made the Dallas Cowboys. He's going to have a big role for that franchise moving forward. Look, certain things, they are just what they are. And it was comical that Previn Jordan wasn't a 5-star tight end on 247 going as his senior year, because he's only 6'3". So people are like, oh, he's 2 inches too short, or blah, blah, blah. I'm like, the dude is the best tight end out. Like, he's the best tight end in the recruiting class. He was freshman All-American. He's leading the tight end, almost all tight ends in America, in catches, receiving yards, yards per catch, touchdown, all that kind of stuff right now. Dude, come on, the proof's in the pudding. But so like I said, there are things to enjoy. There are things to hate also. You keep missing field goals. You keep losing games. You keep coming in, and maybe, I don't know if we're going to get here, but I do want to say this. Everybody talks about Miami being every opponent's Super Bowl, how they're always hyped up. They're going to come out. They're going to be hyped up. They're going to swing first. They're going to have this energy. They're going to come out hot, hot and hyped up and everything like that. And I saw somebody tweet, they're like, yo, Miami has to be ready for these games. They had to be ready for these teams, yada, yada, yada. Because they just need to do that. They need to be ready. And I said, yeah, but it's always been that. And game after game and year after year, Miami's on the back foot. Miami's not usually the team that gets out to 17-0, 17-3, 21-3, 28-7 at halftime. That's not the Hurricanes. It hasn't been for a while. And I think that needs to change. It was pretty dominant from, after the first quarter moving on. I think it was like 157-5 total yards in the second quarter in Miami's favor, 10-0 in Miami's favor. They threw 25 times because they had that throwback pass, the double pass, or whatever. So they threw 25. But, I mean, Sam, I'm still in the stats page because I like to leave the stats page up until we speak. If we're looking, Sam Howell, does it have what I'm looking for? It does. Yeah. 17.2 yards per completion. Like, they're taking shots. You know what I mean? Like, 4th and 17, you hit, for 22. And yeah, KC Kane fan, like my face, on the 4th and 17 comment that Mark made. It's inexcusable that you have the slot uncovered on 4th in the ball game. Because if they don't make that, Miami runs the ball, runs out the clock, wins the game. That's literally 4th in the ball game from a Miami perspective. And I don't want to hear about bracket coverage. I don't want to hear it because you still have the number one receiver. And if you're numbering receivers, for those who don't know, you start from the sideline and you number in. So 1, 2, 3, 4 coming towards the tackle. So you only have 2 on that side, but you leave 2 uncovered and you leave 1. I mean, 1 is, he's man to man, but you got your 2 right there, but you got Bandy, who you move inside to nickel, which I told you, everybody said that he's going to be at the nickel when you have 3 DBs or go nickel with 3 cornerbacks out there. But then you have him not playing man. And then Gervin Hall, you get him in a compromised situation because you got the 1 going vertical. So he doesn't know if I'm supposed to follow the 1 or the 2 and, come down on that. But then, obviously Bandy has inside leverage and you have to, account for the outside leverage. And for me, this is where a timeout should have been taken. And I know Manny Diaz, he got on the press conference on Monday and he talked about having all 3 timeouts and That was a time when I was screaming on my couch, you need to call a timeout. Call a timeout right now because the defense was not properly aligned. And you can see that because the slot receiver is 100% uncovered. Again, I don't want to hear about bracket coverage because if you have bracket coverage, then you're going to walk down Gervin Hall a little bit more. I don't know why his heels are at 22 on 4th and 17. It doesn't make any sense to me. So, yeah, I mean, there's things not to like. I mean, 17.2 per completion. Obviously, you pick on Bandy with the stutter go, hit him for 72 over the top, for a 10-0 lead there. But, I mean, still, those are only a couple of plays. I'm still in the stat sheet, so I'm going to tell you. Chunk plays is right here. They had 6 passes of more than 15 yards. 39, 62, 16, 36, 18, and 20 on 4th and 17. Like, bro, they're taking big shots. You got to do something. And I know that a lot of these guys are new. And yeah, Miami did have the number 1 passing defense in America last year, but clearly, even with talent, because there is talent in this defensive secondary, the performance needs to stand up. And Manny Diaz was asked, hey, are you still calling plays on defense? Because in the second quarter, it did seem like he took over play calling from Blake Baker because the way the defense played was diametrically opposed to what we saw in the first quarter. He said, no, Blake Baker's the guy. And honestly, more than missing me calling those plays, those guys over there are probably missing Jaquan Johnson in that secondary. Jaquan Johnson, rookie, who's now playing for the Buffalo Bills, the highest graded player in the NFL in its entirety in preseason football. That guy who never misses assignment, damn near never miss a tackle. You're missing those guys. So, I mean, I don't think it's crazy to say that Miami dominated the rest of that game. Except for it's not a 45-minute game. So the 2nd through 4th quarter is not the only time that you can dominate. I mean, I know it's going back to 2001. Joaquin said dominate. He didn't say, okay, dominate a couple plays here and there. He said dominate because that's what Miami Hurricanes do. So you cannot wait. You cannot spot them a lead on the road in a game where they're hyping everything up. You just can't do it.